The Olympic Games are less than a week away. And we got one last game to play, and it's going to be in Madison Square Garden against the Soviets. Not the B team, the real Soviet team. This particular Soviet team had won 40 consecutive games. Of their 40 wins, they beat the Montreal Canadiens, the New York Rangers, the New York Islanders. Then they beat the NHL All-Stars by a score of 6-0. We beat Harvard, we beat Yale. Schedules were a little different here. Anybody who understands hockey, 1972, the Soviets were really first recognized as a hockey power. They were going to play a series called the Summit Series against the greatest Canadian players, and it would be a 9-game series in Canada and then in the Soviet Union. And people said there's no way the Soviets can compete against the great Canadian players. Well, as it turned out, the series went to 9 games, and a guy named Paul Henderson scored a goal in the last minute for the Canadians to win 5-4. That was 1972. 8 of those players in 1972 played against us in 1980. 12 of my teammates were in junior high school in 1972 rather. So you can see it was a pretty good hockey team and an experienced team. And we thought we were pretty good, and we thought we were going to play against them. Adversity. Guess what? Some days aren't going the way you want them to go, and how do you handle it? How do you deal with it? We lose 10-3. Totally embarrassed. Totally humiliated. We thought we were a pretty good hockey team. The Olympic Games are a few days away, and we just got totally embarrassed. So the game's over. We're frustrated with the fact that we lost 10-3. Go back to the hotel. Have a meeting with Coach Brooks after. Coach says, look, we'll talk about the game tomorrow. Go back to the hotel, get a good night's sleep, get up in the morning, pack your bags, come to the rink, we'll get the equipment, we'll go to Lake Placid, get ready for the Olympic Games. Well, we go back to the hotel, the last 2 guys get cut from the team. Disappointed that we had obviously lost 10-3, but really frustrated and feel bad that 2 of our teammates aren't going to be there. As nice as the feeling as it was that you were there, you still felt bad because they were guys that you played 6 months with, and actually one of them was my roommate. So I go back to the hotel and get a good night's sleep, and I get up the next morning, and I'm on my way to Madison Square Garden, and I picked up the New York Post, which I think was the wrong newspaper to pick up. And there's an article about the game, and it talks about how the United States just played the Soviets and got embarrassed 10-3. Don't expect anything from the United States in the upcoming Olympic Games. The Soviets are by far the best team in the world, and nobody can compete with them. And don't expect anything from the United States hockey team. They're young, they're inexperienced, and they don't have a lot of talent and a great deal of ability. And you know, the inexperienced part I could understand. Our average age was 21. It was the youngest team we'd ever put on the ice before. And then there was a quote from Herb Brooks. And Herb's quote was, I knew our team was in trouble when the Soviet players were being introduced. My players were applauding them. And he was kind of right. We're sitting there going, wow, there's Karlamov, there's Khrushchev, there's Yakashev, you know. Next thing you know, it's 7-0. Well, Herb Brooks was a great coach and a great motivator and a great speaker. And he always had the right words to say at difficult times. So we go into the locker room, and Herb sits in front of us, and he says, gentlemen, if you ever get a chance to play the Soviets again, remember how you played in the second and third period, not the first period when you were losing 7-0. So he turned a negative into a positive right away. And the reason I tell you that is when things aren't going well, and guess what? There are times when things don't go well. Don't dwell on the negative. Find something positive, as small as it might be, and build off of that. Because if you continue to think about negative things, guess what? Negative thoughts are going to stay in your mind. And if he had screamed and yelled at us, we'd have got on that bus with our head between our legs and went, oh, we get no chance. Instead, we couldn't wait to go to Lake Placid. We couldn't wait to get on the bus.